How do we flank you to announce what we don't know? No, wewe Rigiji, wacha maneno mingi. Musalia, let's go. I said, no, I can't. If we are flanking you to make the announcements, we must be part of what you're announcing as the usual practice. I cannot flank you to announce cabinet when I don't know who you're announcing. I cannot hear it for the first time with the rest of Kenyans and the press. So he was very angry. Then he rushed to his office. Oh, Musalia, my God. He was shaking like a leaf. Oh, mommy, how can you challenge the president? How? Please, this is not right. I say, Musalia, my friend, do you know this announcement, your name could be missing in that paper?
Welcome back to Havana Media. And of course, this is where we tell Kenya's real stories straight from the heart and without fear. So today we are diving into one of the most talked about stories behind the walls of State House. A dramatic confrontation between President William Ruto and his former deputy Rigathi Gachagua, right after the 2024 Gen Z protests that almost changed everything. It's a story about power, loyalty, and standing your ground, even when it means challenging the president himself. Now, after the Gen Z protests, Kenya was in a state of shock. The youth had risen up demanding justice, transparency, and accountability. The streets were filled with anger, but also with hope. Hope that their voices would finally lead to change. The protest forced the president to dissolve his cabinet and promise a fresh start, a reset for his government. He wanted to form a new team, one that will bring stability after weeks of chaos and public outrage. But inside State House, tension was building. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua says he saw firsthand how difficult those days were. According to him, the president was struggling, balancing political alliance, calming public pressure, and also trying to rebuild his image while negotiating with opposition figures, including the late Raila Amolo Odinga.
The cabinet was dissolved, and William Ruto was struggling on what to do, bring Raila and his people in, this, that, and we let him do what he wanted to do without too much argument. And he announced the first batch, and out of the positions I had negotiated for my counties where I come from, he did not appoint anybody from Embu. And I asked him why. He said, let's wait kidogo. So, in the next appointment, the final one, he called me and Musalia so that we flank him to announce the last batch of cabinet. And he was in a hurry. Let's go. I said, hey, what do you mean we go? How?
And that's when the cracks began to show. When Ruto announced the first round of his new cabinet appointments, Gachagua noticed something very strange. Not a single person from Embu County, his political backyard, had been included. Now Gachagua came up and asked the president why. Then Ruto told him, let's wait for the next round. So Gachagua waited. But when the time came for the final announcement, the tension between the two leaders reached its breaking point. The president called Gachagua and Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi to State House. The plan was simple, to go before the press and announce the final cabinet lineup together. But now, according to Gachagua, something felt off. President Ruto was in a hurry. He told them, let us go. The cameras are now ready. Gachagua stopped him and asked, go where? We haven't even seen the final list. Ruto brushed it off, saying there was no need to go through it again. But Gachagua refused. He said, Mr. President, I cannot follow you to announce names I don't know. As your deputy, I must be part of what you are about to tell the whole country. Now the room went cold, very silent. No one talking to each other. Now President Ruto, visibly angry, stormed off into his office. Mudavadi, shocked and uncomfortable, turned to Gachagua and whispered, now, how can we question the president like that? This is not right. But Gachagua stood his ground. Calmly, he said, my brother, do you realize your name could be missing in that paper? The only person who is safe here is me, because how he was elected. Then moments later, the president came back, this time holding the list in his hand. Then he dropped it on the table and told them to look at it. What you can't imagine is that Gachagua flipped through the names very quickly, and there it was Justin Muturi's name who was missing. In his place, there was someone new who was replaced. Gachagua looked up and asked, "Who is this person? I've never heard of him. Where is he from? And why remove Justin Muturi, one of the most capable ministers we have?" Then the president responded, "He is someone who was recommended." Now the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua replied firmly, "Mr. President, with the respect, I can't support that. The people of Embu trusted me to represent them, and I cannot go before them to explain a decision I wasn't part of." Then he reminded the president that the last name he made appointments from Meru, he didn't complain. But now, replacing Muturi without consultation was not right. Then he added, "If you want to announce this, then go ahead. But I will not stand next to you and hear it for the first time with the rest of the country." Now, for 3 long minutes, there was total silence, both on stage and on the ground. Then Ruto, frustrated, threw his pen on the table and said, "You and your JB Muturi." But Gachagua didn't back down. He told him, "Mr. President, this man works hard. He is consistent. He speaks sense in the cabinet meetings. I have watched him more than once. He's serious about Kenya. Some of those you are bringing back have done nothing." Then Ruto paused. He looked at Mudavadi. You could feel the tension in that room. But finally, the president said quietly, "All right, let JB Muturi stay." In that moment, everything changed. It was just about one appointment. It was about power, loyalty, and principle. It showed that even inside the highest office in the land, real debates will happen. It showed that Gachagua was willing to risk his comfort, even his position, just to stand up for what he believed was fair. Afterwards, the two leaders appeared together before the cameras, smiling and shaking hands as if nothing had happened. But those who knew what had gone on behind the scenes could see the cracks forming. From that day, trust between them began to fade. Slowly, silently, but steadily. Still, this story reveals something rare in Kenyan politics. That sometimes the people in power do clash over what's right. It's not always rebellion. Sometimes it's conviction. Gachagua's defense of Justin Muturi wasn't just political loyalty. It was about fairness, inclusion, and keeping promises made to their people. At a time when Kenya was healing from the Gen Z protests and people were demanding honesty from their leaders, that quiet standoff inside State House was a reminder that even in politics, courage can mean saying no to power. And as Kenyans, we may never know every detail in what truly happened that day. But what is very clear is that something shifted. It was a moment that tested the friendship between Ruto and Gachagua, and it revealed the deep struggle for influence that continues to shape our country's leadership up to date. That was the story that we brought to you today. And thank you for watching Havana Media. And if you value the story, tell the truth, remember to like, share, and subscribe, because every story matters, and we will always be here to tell. My name is Odwor Billy. See you in the next video.